let's talk about let's talk about this. Let's talk about sex, baby.
Back when we were doing the monster movies, we were going on a little monster detour, and we're doing Gamera and Godzilla. This is one that I wanted to do because I heard it was like kind of psychedelic, and I'd never seen it before. It was kind of trippy. It was early 70s, kind of right after the 60s, so it was kind of in between that little.
Yeah, it was.
But I wanted to see it, so I suggested we do it this time.
It's funny because we were watching it. I was watching it with Paula, and we were sitting there and we were trying to guess the year, right? and the weird thing about it is that there was a lag in the rest of the world that you know, we grew up in LA. I mean, we grew up kind of San Francisco and LA were the center of, like, you know, what was happening. And I kept looking at it and going, I said this, I said, it looks like 1967, but
the music,
but the you have to think about Japan being the rest of the world. There was a lag there, and so Paula goes, yeah, with the lag, and she guessed 1970, and I think it was 1971. And I
they probably shot it in 1970.
They probably did. I mean, you know, it's a.
Oh yeah, so I mean that was my introduction to this.
So there were.
Well,
lead on, McDuff.
Okay. Picture this: the late 1960s Japan. Godzilla is caught littering on the highway, and he's forced to make a public service announcement called Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, or Hedorah. But I know some versions call it the Smog Monster. But anyway, so it's an alien. It's not something that was born from the smog or pollution. It was an alien, came from another planet. What was it? I guess was it a baby alien? I don't know. Was it a tadpole at that point? I don't know. Something landed from space. It came in from space.
But it was stone. It wasn't.
But they never explained. It was a dark gaseous nebula. It arrives to consume rampant pollutions. So anyway, it's this little creature from outer space that eats pollution, and it grows. And it's able to spray sulfuric acid and corrosive sludge everywhere. And it's... What I think is weird, okay, in the description here it says, neither humanity or Godzilla may be able to defeat this toxic menace. But I'm like, well, humanity, what the hell did the people do?
We couldn't figure out, I couldn't figure out whether the comment, because there was a rabid sense of commentary.
Yeah, well, they kept showing all these different planets, like, where did it come from?
Yeah, and at the same time, there was this just like early smog echo voice to it that just hit you. They were just hitting you over the head with it. And
it was that environmental message. Well, this is post-war Japan, where I guess they started worrying about that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Well, this is a, I mean, I can understand that, especially, you know, Japan had to clean up after the war, so you know, they were pretty close to it.
Well, this has that theme that a lot of other Godzilla movies have.
Well, yeah,
mankind sucks up majorly. They either fuck up with nuclear spills or pollution, and then they have to come together. They
pay the price, and Godzilla is either on the side of mankind.
Yes, he's on their side, or he's the enemy.
Or is the enemy. I mean, you know.
But if he's on their side, you notice the people never do anything, and they always fuck everything up. Like there's that one scene where Godzilla looks at everybody like,
right, really? Right, like, really?
It's like, I'll get it.
I also noticed that this is the first of the rubber suit Godzillas. This is just after that. This is not the concrete suit.
Right. Well, weren't there a few before this? I haven't seen them all, but there's some in the late 60s that were rubber, I think.
Yeah, but you know, Godzilla could gesture. Like, hey, bring it.
Well, he was doing that Wizard of Oz thing. He was like, put him up, put him up.
Yeah, put him up.
Put him up. Like him wiping his face.
But boy, I have to tell you, the directing on this thing was so bad. I mean, there were were shots missing that would have explained things, and your brain would go to that shot and it wasn't there, right? So there'd be it would feel like a record skipped.
Yeah, and there was hardly any miniatures used, so you didn't really know. Like, there were some scenes where Godzilla was standing in the middle of nowhere, and you couldn't really tell where he was.
Yeah, and the other thing is like they were kind of like sorely lacking in things like close-up shots. So it just go away, cat. Jesus. I'm sorry. I cleared you off the screen with the cat. Oh, there you are. Let's make you big.
I think the cat probably saw the rat.
Yeah.
Wanted to go for it.
So, no, massively incompetent directing.
I think that worked to its advantage, though, in some ways.
Right? Not being able to tell a story?
I don't know if you really needed to, because it was pretty basic story.
Well, I'll give you an example. Is things kept happening to Godzilla, and then all of a sudden Godzilla would be back, right? You know, like for instance,
he took breaks.
Yeah, he's being covered by sludge, right?
Yeah.
And he goes into this pit, and the sludge monster fills the pit up, you know, with sludge, and then in the next scene, Godzilla is back.
Well, even Hedorah, even he disappeared sometimes.
Right.
So
just like gone.
Well, there was supposed to be
weird.
I was reading the trivia. This is like the only movie this guy directed, and it was there was supposed to be a sequel to this set in Africa, except for the series producer Tomoyuki Tanaka, right? Or I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but he was involved in all the other movies basically. Right. But he was hospitalized during the production of this, and I guess when he saw it, he wasn't really happy with it, and he was telling the director that you're banned from making any Godzilla movies.
Yeah,
and so they never made the sequel. But I think I want to see the sequel. Actually, I like this because it was so messy and it was so crazy. Like my favorite parts were when the. Okay, well, you know, I tend to like movies that have a darker theme anyways. This is probably the darkest Godzilla I've ever seen, where it's like people getting like spewed with acid and dropping dead like in mass. Like you don't see multiple people die in Godzilla usually at once.
No, it's really true.
And then the melting of the skin off the skeletons and stuff.
Yeah, but it was all done so badly.
Yes, it was. They were like crisp white skeletons. Did you notice that?
Yeah, well, but not only that, I remember that there was a wall that all these people were supposed to have died up against this wall, and so their wardrobe. So somebody put some goo up on the wall, and then just pressed the wardrobe up against it and let it all slide down the wall, and you're like, really? I mean, literally, there was a folded shirt just like sliding down the wall. It's like,
oh,
well, yeah, but how does it? It was incompetent, but it also had some really strange cartoon animated.
Oh, that was one of my favorite things too. So I guess I like Monty Python, so it's kind of I feel like I was watching a Monty Python movie. There's like a cut in with the cartoon and Happy Hedorah, and he's like drinking smog and stuff or whatever. I don't know.
Right. No, literally, there was cartoons.
But I liked it because that's what I liked about this, because the whole thing is absurd. It's like ridiculous. And then there's my favorite scene, which is that it's around the time of the animated stuff. Actually, it's like. When they had all those people like saying, "Give it oxygen," and there's those people screaming, and they're in boxes, and they're all saying different things. They're all screaming, and then you see like this baby lying in sludge, crying. It's like, and then you have the go-go dancer at the same time.
Right.
They go to the go-go dancer, and she's wearing this clamshell outfit thing, and she's singing, literally singing about the end of the world. Like she's doing the RRR.
She's literally singing a song.
It reminded me of RRR, and it's
right.
like how this is what's happening.
and
I love that whole part, that whole section. That was beautiful.
And then the party out in the woods, you know,
when they all decided to go to Mount Fuji. Let's go there before Hedorah gets there.
That's right. So they were just going to go enjoy Mount Fuji before
the end of the world.
Before the end of the world.
Yeah.
And it didn't turn out well for them. Put it that way.
And by the way, why would they just stand around watching instead of running? I mean,
Right, you're right. And there was no running. They were still standing there. Yeah. No, I mean,
the
oh,
humans were
boy.
stupid in this. But I did like the villain in this, the monster, because it started off as a tadpole wrecking ships, and then it like started crawling around, and then it was sucking the smog out of the factory, which was really awesome. That was a cool scene.
The best scene. I have to say, for the whole thing, I said this to my wife when we were in the middle of it. I said, "Listen, all I want is I just want a segment of that creature over sucking on the end of that industrial because they did it so well.
Yeah.
I mean the smog is just pumping out of that pipe and the thing is just here going.
It was like a vacuum. It was sucking it up. Yeah.
It was great.
Oh, and then he started flying, and I'm like, and then he could switch from flying to walking, and I was like, that's cool. And then I liked at the end he was he could fly, or he could turn into that kind of Diana Ross sparkly creature that he was.
Right. Oh yeah, the sparkles. Oh, I know. Oh, how did I forget that?
Oh, and this is the one and only movie where Godzilla flies using his powers.
Yes, and might I say that he was not very.
Well, he curled up his tail and kind of
He
went.
curled up his tail and he looked like the letter C,
Yes.
kind of going along. He's like, and it was backwards too. So
Yeah.
he looked like a C going backwards, and it was like, really?
Well, it's okay. I actually liked this because it was so crazy and ridiculous and out of control. Like, it didn't make it. Well, it made sense because I knew what was happening. It's a really simple plot, and it's like any other Godzilla plot. But then it had all the psychedelic stuff coming at you. It had like the girl in the clamshell outfit talking about the end of the world, and it had the animated stuff.
It was. I have to say, I did love the. I thought that it was really, really, really bad, but at the same time, some of the elements were kind of a tickle.
This actually might be one of my favorite Godzillas that I've seen so far.
Really? Well, I'm not sure.
But for all the wrong reasons. It's not like it was well done.
I can go with you for all the wrong reasons.
Right. Well, my only complaint is that the music where. But
Yeah,
what's
and
up
the
with Godzilla
music-
just kind of
what-
sauntering in, like it's wong, dong, and he was just kind of like walking in, like,
but,
yeah.
But there was something like honky tonk going on with the music, right?
Yeah. Well, he was walking in like, oh, he can almost be smoking a cigarette. Like, what's going on, guys?
Hey, baby. Yeah,
And the music just didn't fit. It was kind of like a Laurel and Hardy kind of goofy kind of music. You know what I mean?
It was like right out of the late 20s.
Yeah.
You know?
So that was one of the things that the producer or whatever, one of the creators was mad about, was that the music that he picked wasn't really happy with it.
Oh, I think that if they could have picked out just the music by itself, they were doing well.
Oh, and by the way, did you notice with the metal? So there was a construction site, and the creatures flew over top of it, and the acid went on it.
Right over the top of it. He goes right over the top of it,
Yeah.
and like about slowly.
But did they forget to put the sound in?
Yeah, because it just kind of like, and the thing is I kept thinking, well, they're just going to cut away from that, right? Because that must just be a flying shot. And so they're just holding on to it for an obscenely long amount of time. And then all of a sudden it just like kind of like melts down and you're going, oh.
But where was the sound?
There was no sound. There was no nothing. There was no musical cue. There wasn't anything.
No, it was complete silence. It was like watching a silent movie all of a sudden.
Oh, well, that happened.
I don't know. And the whole premise is weird because you're battling a smog monster. Why not? You're treating the symptom. Why not treat the cause?
Yeah, well, there a lot, and I mean this in a really bad way. There was a lot going on there.
Actually, there's one thing they missed because this is about the time. Well, actually, one of my favorite characters as a kid was Woodsy Owl. Where was he? He could have showed up.
Yeah.
Give a hoot, stomp a hoot.
Yeah, it was.
He could have been on Godzilla's side.
Yeah, I know that you enjoyed it.
Well, everything was so wacky about it. Even the way the creature grew. I mean, two tadpoles. They just. Oh, hey, how you doing?
Oh yeah. Hey. Oh look. Yeah. Hey, this is science.
And then at the end where Godzilla actually ripped out the the babies.
Yeah.
At first I thought he ripped his heart out. And then he
Right.
kept ripping him out. I'm like, oh, he's ripping out the babies. And he
Yeah.
like,
We were looking at that going, huh? Well, that's disturbing.
it was very disturbing. It was
very
the
disturbing.
darkest, weirdest Godzilla I've ever seen.
It was definitely the weirdest. I have to tell you.
And I actually want to buy it now. I'm like, that's how much I liked it. I'm like, I want this on my shelf. So I give it like a 4, probably.
Really?
Oh, and did you not like the rubber suit that the Hedorah was, or Hedorah, or whatever, however you say his
Hedorah?
name?
Yeah, I didn't know. It's funny. It took me a while to figure out just exactly what that was.
With the red bulging stuff coming out, that was insane. But
It got weirder and weirder. It's funny. Every once in a while, the lighting was good enough so that you could see how intricately that was painted.
no, it was pretty awesome, and the
intricate.
feet were cool.
Yeah.
But so actually, there's a trivia I found on that. It's the director mentioned that Hedorah's eyes were deliberately made to resemble
Deliberately look
female
like vaginas.
genitalia, and he joked that the vaginal inspired look made it more unsettling.
I'm not
So I guess
sure
he had
that-
issues with women.
Yeah, he had some issues. Yeah. I'm not 100% convinced that it was women, but he did have some issues.
So yeah, I recommend this to somebody who wants to watch a whacked out movie with an environmental message that has psychedelic scenes in it. If you like Pink Floyd The Wall or any Monty Python stuff, you like this. But I give it a 4. Give it a good 4. 4, baby.
Really? I'm I'm gonna go with a 2. Just for the cartoon segments.
I did get your point though, because I thought about that too, about the lack of. There's scenes missing, like you said, and then also but I was able to put it all together.
But-
See,
but-
I must be brilliant because I figured it all out.
You must be, because the lack of competence in the directing, made it literally was a very jerky experience. And it's funny because in a way, had it been a better film, the animation sequences would have stood out even worse. In this case,
You're right.
in this case, you say, well, all of a sudden it breaks out into animation, and you would think to yourself, well, that could be pretty distracting, but no,
Not in this
because
movie.
everything was distracting.
Well, this is like the Superman 2 of the series. It's kind of like it's different.
Oh,
Which,
it's
by the way, I
different.
like Superman 2. So there
well.
you go. I like the Richard Donner cut.
Just the links of the chain are starting to show.
Oh, tell me who doesn't like the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. Come on. Come on. I'm waiting. Anyway, so
Anyway,
I'm glad we recommended this because the last two, this goes right along. It's kind of you see how it's kind of organic. The last two things we reviewed
I
kind
was
of
going to
going.
say, you're going to get a certain sense of deja poo. 111.
So who knows what we'll do next? But
Deja voodoo.
we wanted to go Asian again, but we decided to go to Japan.
Yeah. So, by the way, there India waits,
Yes, India waits for us to review something.
and maybe somebody else can call me. What was it?
I don't know. Have you looked at the comments? I looked at the comments lately, and I saw one that said, "You guys are acting like two jerks," and I'm like, "Well, we are Americans, so I mean,
Yeah.
that's
What
kind of
can I
how it
say?
is."
Yeah, that's
We're unintentional jerks. We really mean well, but we just come across that way.
at least one of us means well.
Right.
Okay.
Figure out
That's
which one
enough
that
of
is.
this. That's enough of this.
Yes. Enough said.
Okay, man. Talk to you later.
All right.
Why is it I always say I have to beep it twice?